Hello and welcome to the People Engine, the podcast that I'm starting as on today, and this is my first episode where I'm gonna exploring the human side of work, the careers, and everything that falls in between. And I'm your host Gautam Tuluku. Today I wanted to talk about something that's deeply personal to me, which is career development for introverts. So let me start by saying this, and probably I have opened up quite a lot on this topic when I realized that I shouldn't have to shy away because it's my identity probably, and that's how I am, and that's how God wanted me to be. So I didn't really care after a point of time, because the disappointment has been continuously been there for several of the years for whatever reason. Anyway, so coming on to the point, yes, so I'm an introvert and I am absolutely proud about it. Growing up, I had a very hard transition with my voice. Usually when you're entering into the teenage, you would have, when you're in that early stages of your life, right, when you're below 12 years, automatically your voice would have to transition from the baby voice or the child voice to an adult voice. So that usually happens when you're about to enter into your teenagers, right? So typically that's the transition that everybody goes through, and naturally that happens, and nobody would realize unless you don't meet that person for a very long time. You wouldn't really observe the change. The parents may not observe the change unless you're trying to hear something about the child for whatever thing. So I had a very tough transition. The voice did not change to me naturally, and I had a tough time with my voice, able to speak, not able to speak, and be myself in the classrooms and all of it. So people used to laugh at me in the classrooms. Some of the teachers were empathetic about it. They were supportive. I still remember those faces who used to feel bad for me, rather be supportive in the classroom when there used to be a section of friends who used to humiliate or bully me for that as a reason, but nobody put me away anyway. But that made me to put away myself, because I was afraid to talk in front of people. I was afraid to open up my mouth and speak for whatever reason, that okay, so people are not going to let me be myself, or they're going to laugh at me, kind of a thing. So yeah, so that's a hard transition for me. So for worst reasons or good reasons, that's how it has been. So I think I was able to transition myself into that voice only when I probably turned 17, maybe 16, 17. So the rough pace was for at least 2-3 years, as I remember. So anyway, so that's a long story. So that hardly pushed me into that introvertism, and that's a very tough phase of the life. I wouldn't really expect any child to have that kind of phase in their life. And even after facing all of that life into other of it, people made assumptions, they underestimated me, and at times I felt like I was constantly trying to prove myself to be a different one. But those challenges shaped who I am today. I completed my master's, and when I wanted to really get into those MBAs, also people said, oh, do you really fit into do an MBA? I don't see those qualities and all of it. For that moment, probably yes, I didn't really feel great about it, but which is totally fine. I didn't care. I took it as a challenge. That's probably that positive mindset probably God had given me at that point in time. So I've never had the intention to give up on it. So that's a fortunate thing in my life that happened. And eventually I've done my master's and then moved on to work with a recruiting consulting firm, and then I joined the Big Four, which is Deloitte, and I spent like good 12 years. And that's again a different journey. It's a great organization, great people, great leadership, Of course, you would have the tough people, those cranky ones everywhere whom you have to deal with to prove yourself. So that's a different story to talk about another day. So today I wanted to share you, can you convert or turn your introvertism and any other personal challenges into the strengths that help you in the career growth? So that's exactly what I did, and wanted to talk about it in few segments so that I could share my full story to it. So I tried embracing my quiet strengths. Being an introvertism, I don't think it's anybody should see it as a weakness. I used to see it as a weakness. I used to think that okay, everybody has to be talkative, everybody has to be extrovert and hang on everywhere possible, but eventually I realized that okay, so that's not what it is, and I can be myself, and I can bring in my unique strengths out of it. That's a late realization probably, but yeah, early in my career I tried to force myself into that extroverted roles and situations. I attended loud networking events trying to be someone I wasn't, but I quickly realized that that's not the kind of path that I wanted to get into, because as most of you might have read or heard in several areas, that introverts needs a deep focus, empathy, and the ability to listen are some of their superpowers. In my experience, these qualities are crucial in the role that I chose to, which is human resources. When I wanted to get into MPA, I thought, okay, what is my strength? So I think I really thought about this when I wanted to get into where am I gonna succeed, what is my strength. So is it that finance, or is it marketing, or is it human resources? I said okay, human resources, and that's how I got into talent acquisition, and finally there it gave me a platform to establish myself. I never regretted getting into that profession at all, not even a single. And so that's how I was able to optimize the strengths that have been there within myself, and was able to get into that profession by identifying and embracing those quiet strengths. With when I wanted to redefine the networking as an introvert, so talking about networking, which can be pretty daunting for introverts. I used to drain when I have to attend those large networking events where it felt like the loudest voice always won in large team meetings and everything. So there used to be a person who always talks and grabs the attention. But over time I realized that networking doesn't mean to have works only in a crowded room, that you have to talk aloud and grab that attention. It can be, you can simply connect with whoever you want to in a one-to-one and build that relationship. I think that's always succeeded for me, and there have been people who were able to understand my point of view in those conversations, and nobody was pushy to put me up out of my requests in any way, for that matter. Let's say if large events are not your kind of a thing, just don't force it. You don't really have to have only that as your channel of success. So find a method that suits whatever is in your best interest and strengths. I'm sure there are people who would be flexible to understand that. So I think when you try to meet them, automatically you would probably try to customize yourself according to the person that you're meeting to, not just keeping your individual. So the other one is advocating for yourself, right? So it's so tough for you, or being an introvert, to sell yourself and talk about the achievements that you have done, and say that why you need to get that promotion, why you need to get that pay hike. I never used to go and ask people for promotions, or I never used to complain about the salary that I was getting, whether it's low or high. I was always content with whatever has been given to me. Sometimes I have received generous hikes, and sometimes my leaders observed my strengths and achievements, and they gave me a timely promotion. I think it's fortunate that I was able to promote every 2 years, which is a great thing, right? So obviously when you go up the ladder, it takes a bit of time, and that's how it was when I had to move from an assistant manager to a manager. So tough competition. I had to compete with my peers to be there. There has to be an open role and a lot of things when it's a leadership roles, because there would be very minimal number of roles at that level. It's not a bulk hiring that you do at a managerial level anyway. So the challenge for introverts is like self-advocacy, where speaking of the meetings and asking for those promotions can be so overwhelming. I clearly remember sitting in meetings with senior leaders, feeling like my thoughts didn't really matter because I wasn't loud in the room. And I clearly remember a manager who used to encourage me, push me to speak up, and was able to give me those verbal or non-verbal cues to which makes me to allow and grab that attention, which allowed me to open up and grab that attention of the senior managers, because probably I would have been in that elevation zone where I had to get the promotion that year, and obviously you need to have that sight of eyes on you, especially in front of the senior managers, that are so important at that point in time. So with all of that happening, so my learning was like, preparation was one of your best friends. Before any important meetings, I used to think about what is it I could speak about it, anything that is really bothering that you could go and talk in front of that big leader, right? I never used to rehearse them. I know a lot of people say that, okay, rehearse them, get in front of the mirror and practice and all that stuff. That I used to probably frame up my mind, used to think about it, practice within my mind, not verbally. I was lazy to open up my mouth anyway. So but in and out it went really well. So yeah, I was able to grab attention whatever ways possible in my own way. So, and in all of this, I think one of the aspects that we should not be ignoring is about the power of written communication. If you're not able to speak in a group setting, I think your writing is going to play a key role to outline those thoughts and put it up. And I used to strongly rely on this method, right? So I used to be very strong in documenting whatever those conversations are, whatever I wanted to convey. If I know I'm gonna struggle or to open up that conversation, I think I used to certainly use that method to shoot out that email with my thoughts and call up for a discussion, so that I don't really have to spend that time in opening and setting the context. So the mail used to do all of that for me, and the person who walks in comes with that mindset, oh, this person is expecting something based on the context that's already been outlined in the email. So that strategy always worked for me. I think when I used to manage my teams also, that's what I used to do. For some of the difficult conversations, I used to have those documentation in place. I think whatever I wanted to communicate verbally or non-verbally, I used to have both of it written. So that always worked in both sort of scenarios, when I had to get something and when I had to convey something back to an individual. So I think either of the methods could work for you in terms of having a strong written communication, or practicing and rehearsing, as people say, which whatever works. I think ideally it's a try and test method that you could probably use for either of the scenarios and see whatever gives you the best results. And the fourth aspect is about facing those critics, and you would have the external critics surrounded everywhere, and you would also have the internal critic within yourself who keeps poking you, right? So let's first talk about the internal critic, the voice inside basically that says that, oh, you're not enough, you're very quiet, your voice is so different. Trust me, I've been there and have I used to be afraid to speak in front of people, and there have been a lot of appreciations that I received about my voice. And this is my starting point where I used to struggle to speak, remember? But over the years, I've received strong compliments to my voice. Oh, you sound so strong. You sound so confident. You have a pretty strong bass of voice. I remember one of my colleagues complimented while I was walking back after the speech that I gave, probably, that I have a very strong voice. So that boosts up your confidence, right? And after that also there were many instances. One of my professors also complimented that I have that kind of a voice, so it's a great feeling. But yeah, so the internal critic, I think, was able to settle down because of all those compliments that I used to receive. And that boost up is so important for anybody, for that matter, to crack it down. Critics would never settle down. You would never be able to calm them down. I think they wanted you to be like they wanted to see you. How do you balance their expectations? Only God would know, but I never used to care about it. But yeah, it's totally used to bother me and put me into kind of an inferiority complex. So I used to avoid them when they are around, and all that is a different phase of it. But yeah, in and out, all of this, I would say, is I was able to mold myself and worked on or leaned on my own unique strengths rather than being that voice of someone else, right? So, and all of these made me unique. I think as a manager, I was able to win my team's trust, the confidence. I think in any instance, for that matter, I think my team was there for me in many moments. I think I've achieved what I achieved because of my team. I was able to build a strong team that nobody was able to touch. For whatever reason, I have had escalations. That's every one's part of life. But how did we really mold, and how did you really win the experience or the confidence of your stakeholders? I think matters and talks a lot about it. So great things to talk about. It's up to the individual's thing to fight with that internal and external critic. So everybody has to find the unique way to deal with it. And the last one that I want to talk about is building that career path that actually fits as per your strengths or where you want to see yourself as, right? So in the end, your career should be a reflection of who you are and not who you should be for others, right? So not the other way around, where you should not be a reflection of someone else. So for me, that meant finding roles where I could use my strengths, like deep thinking, their empathy and ability to connect with people at a one-to-one level. I think that gave me a lot of comfort to talk or open up. I think that also gave me bit of a boost up or confidence to open up in large groups. And even I never thought I'm going to be in front of a camera, because I've had a lot of criticism. I very strongly remember one of the instances of my senior manager, where he supposed to be a farewell video for one of the vice presidents, and my manager nominated, and I went for the shoot. And when I saw on the day where it was presented to the vice president, I wasn't there in that video. I was taken off. The reason, maybe he did pick me and he didn't want me to be in that video. That bothered me a bit. Anyway, so I thought, okay, fine, don't matter to me. So I didn't really care about it, but of course it bothered me. And look at me here now. I'm in front of the videos. I'm able to do some sort of the videos. I was able to build that confidence within myself. So I've always taken that opportunities as a push for myself, as challenge, and made people to prove wrong about that. So which is a great thing, right? So for any of you, for that matter, there is no secret, there is no one right path. So I think whatever that you face around yourself, I think it's gonna bother you for that night, it's gonna bother you for that week or that few months, but let that not hamper you, let that not push you down to the ground. ensure that how you can probably come out of it. I think that's also so important, and then build your career path according to where you really want to see yourself and where you really want to be yourself as, right? So I wanted to conclude by stating this out to all the introverts out there. I know there are plenty of them, which is a great thing, right? So we see here a lot about many introvert leaders who achieved a lot, many. So that is your quiet strength, and that's a gift. Not everybody gets it, right? In a world that only celebrates the loudest voices, I think we should not be afraid to embrace on our unique power. So I think we need to really narrow down and tailor our career path according to how we wanted it to be. And I don't think we have to really be pressured about getting out of that situations and be as what others expect. I think we'll have to sometimes mold ourselves, which is fine. Sometimes it's totally okay, but not every time. So I think being ourselves, being yourself every day when you come to the work, I think so important. I've been fortunate to in a larger scale when I worked with Deloitte, and even in my current organization, I'm myself. And if somebody judges me, that really bothers me for that instance, but still it's a long journey that I've come out of that kind of thing. But yeah, so, and I want to thank you for joining me on this episode. Hope there is some substance that I was able to give you through the episode of the People Engine. And if you find this conversation helpful, I would like to hear from you. Please share your thoughts, any of your struggles or any of your success stories as an introvert in the workplace. So we'll keep talking a lot about this topic in my further episodes, and this is my further episode. I'm sure I could enhance this furthermore in probably bridging this conversation a bit more crisp and clear, but it's a great start for me as a thing. So more to come, and thank you for listening once again.